Hey, you just caught me in the middle of editing another Great Racer Cinema Productions video. So, the question is, would I recommend getting... Just in case if you're sick of the base Genesis, yeah, go ahead, get a Sega CD, and if you're a huge fan of Sega products and a huge game collector, definitely get it. Yeah, it's a very collectible game console. But the games themselves, some of them are really expensive, and of course they, when it first came out, there weren't a lot of games that really took advantage of its extra chip. Let me explain. The Sega CD came out, and of course, very few games were available. One of the reasons why the Sega CD failed, and this is also something that Sega Lord X also pointed out, and I definitely do agree with him, by the way, is, well, the fact that very few games were available for it, and they weren't showpieces. Yeah. Not only was it expensive, but very few games for it really stood out. Yeah, a lot of games for the Sega CD, of course, well, a lot of launch titles for the Sega CD, most launch titles for the Sega CD, usually, of course, look like base Sega Genesis games, but with a CD quality soundtrack. Or they're a full motion video games like Sewer Shark and, of course, Night Trap. Yeah. You had, like, this console, which Sega has been hyping up like crazy, and of course, well, it was very expensive because, well, the technology was new, and of course, opened up a gateway to awesomeness. And you could have, like, a whole scaling processor, like, it has friggin' 12.5 megahertz Motorola 68000 processor, which, by nowadays, I mean, by modern standards, doesn't seem like much, especially compared to smartphones, but it was pretty powerful back then. But Sega, of course, didn't actually bother making any games that took full advantage of it. They just decided to focus it towards full motion video. Because, well, you know, CD. Yeah, and full motion video, of course, it was very impressive back then. It was a very impressive gimmick, but just like disco and the Bee Gees, it became rather dated and, well, died out as soon as the fad, well, as soon as it became a fad. Yeah, it died out as soon as the fad became irrelevant. Yeah, so Sega did a lot to market it towards full motion video, but they didn't bother releasing, like, Outrun on the Sega CD, or even Outrunners on the Sega CD that, like, takes full advantage of that extra processor and has CD quality soundtrack and is like, whoa, scaling hills is better than the Genesis version, you must get it. No. Sega didn't even bother making any games like that. Yes, it did make Afterburner 3, but it was really disappointing. It's basically similar to a Genesis Afterburner games. And aside from its CD quality soundtrack, it's nothing really special. The 32X version of Afterburner came out and slaughtered it. I mean, the Sega CD Afterburner game, Afterburner 3, it was destroyed by Afterburner on the Sega 32X. Yeah, so the Sega CD didn't do very well, and of course was discontinued in 1995. Yes, there were eventually some memorable games for the Sega CD. This is something that Sega Lord X has also pointed out, by the way. Like Snatcher, and of course I think a Road Rash, but the problem with those games is that they came out well into the end of the life for the Sega CD. They came out in 1994 and 1995. Yeah, and by that time, Sega was already they were already going to release the Sega Saturn. And they also had the Sega 32X on the market, so yeah. The Sega CD died a slow but painful death by the time the 32X and the Saturn came out. And of course, the Sega CD was the first time that people started to lose confidence in Sega. I mean, Sega, they did pretty well in North America, even more so in Japan. When the Mega Drive launched in Japan, it didn't sell as well as the PC Engine. But when it came out in North America as the Genesis, actually outsold the TurboGrafx 16, which didn't sell well. Yeah, so the Sega Genesis was hugely popular, and Sega was like on top. They're almost beat Nintendo. But sad to say, Sega completely lost the console war by the time the Saturn came out. Yeah. If the Sega CD had like better games when it first came out, and if several of the games actually took advantage of its scaling chip, it would have done well. But as it stands, the Sega CD is just another piece in a video game history, as well as another collector's item for Sega fans and hardcore gamers all over the pond. Yeah, the Sega CD died a slow but painful death by the time the Saturn came out. And with all its potential and all its promise, the Sega CD failed. It couldn't even outlast the Genesis, which the Genesis still had games for it, even being made into 1997, and with Frogger being made in 1998. Yeah, it's very sad to tell stories like these, because Sega CD had a lot of potential. Contrary to what you thought, the Sega CD isn't really that bad. It was just ruined by all this hype surrounding it, and Sega just marketed it the wrong way. It's amazing how marketing can sometimes ruin things, and that's why I think the Sega CD failed. It failed because not that many games stood out, and of course it's very expensive, the technology was new, and the fact that Sega put all that marketing and resources into full motion video games. Very sad, isn't it? Yeah. I'm gonna go off to the side to calm myself down, but it was good talking about the Sega CD. Anyways, see y'all later. Peace out.